What's up, guys? Got another Pokemon Heart Gold Wi-Fi battle for you versus JewishAccountant. Little bit of a weird name. Anyway, we've battled a couple of times in the past. I think our record is actually fairly even. He's a pretty solid player, actually. He's going to lead with Smeargle as I go with Starmie. I'm fearing the Scarf U-turn, so I'm going to switch to Heatran to maybe take that. He actually went for Rocks first, so he gets that early Stealth Rock advantage. I'm going to go for Earth Power on the switch instead of the obvious Flamethrower or Fire Blast, although I'm running Flamethrower. I was hoping to catch maybe a Heatran on the switch because occasionally people switch Heatran into Heatran, even when they don't have Shuka Berry. He actually went for a Pain Split, and I have never seen that on Starmie, so it's kind of weird. You might question why I'm staying in to hit him with another Earth Power, but the truth is I actually am carrying a Pasho Berry, so I'm going to be able to survive that. And he goes for a Surf. Obviously, he wasn't expecting that. He maybe thought I was just predicting the first turn, so decided to go for that here. And I am going to be able to finish him off with another Earth Power, which is pretty nice. Since Starmie is one of the most threatening Pokemon in the OU metagame, being able to eliminate it early game is pretty useful. Except Heatran is at really low health now, so I'm going to have to be careful because it is my Stealth Rocker, and I'd prefer not to lose it if possible. So I'm going to switch to Starmie. I wasn't sure if he'd Dragon Dance right away because this is early game, and most people tend to scout for counters first. And I actually am just going to go for the safe Thunderbolts. Even though I'm running a Life Orb Starmie, which is a really frail Starmie, I am able to survive a +1 bulky Gyara, although not a offensive Gyarados. So I'm going to go and switch back into Heatran. I'm just going to be forced to fodder it at this point because I know he's going for that Spore, and Heatran is probably the best Pokemon on my team to take that since it's right about to die anyway. So now he goes into Dragonite as I also switched out into Gengar. And Dragonite's a really big threat to this team, so I'm just going to explode right off the bat. And I'm actually not running the sub-split set that is the standard for Gengar. I am going with a mixed Thunderbolt and Explosion Gengar. And I actually like this a lot better. It's really good versus stuff like Blissey, especially since I can get it out of the way so my special sweepers can sweep through. And I'm going to go into Suicune at this point, and he goes back into Smeargle as I switch into Starmie. And I wasn't sure if I was expecting the trick, but I kind of had a feeling that I wanted to save Suicune for later because it has a lot more bulk than Starmie. And I get off the trade for Life Orb for a Choice Scarf. Really not bad at all because Starmie is actually a pretty good revenge killer with Choice Scarf, so I may be able to use it for later. And now he switches into his Jirachi while I go into my own Jirachi. His turns out to be a Calm Mind set while mine is the Scarfed set. So I'm just going to trick my Scarf onto him, which should cripple him because as you'll see later, he's actually a sub-CM Jirachi, and he goes for that Substitute right when I tricked him the Scarf. So that really shut him down because he's going to be locked into Substitute, and of course that's completely useless because he really can't set up another sub. So I know he's going to be forced to switch out at this point, and I'm just going to U-turn to scout his switch in. Turns out it's a Machamp, and that's not exactly great for me because nothing on my team can actually one-hit KO Machamp, except Gengar, but then I'd have to explode on it, and I kind of already did. So I'm just going to switch into Starmie, and I was planning to hit it with Hydro Pump and just do a decent amount and sacrifice it to the incoming payback, but instead he switches back into Jirachi. Since we're both Scarfed, I'm still going to be faster than him, although I think he's going to go for the Thunderbolt, so I switch to Shaman, which is probably going to be a decent switch in, and he actually goes back into Gyarados at this point. The lack of Stealth Rock is kind of annoying because it means that I'm going to have to deal with a full health Gyarados, which is kind of difficult, but Shaman really isn't a bad matchup against Gyarados at all. So I'm just going to go for that Leech Seed as he Dragon Dances, and the best course of action is probably for me to just Leech Seed that first time and just Seed Flare every turn after this, because that Leftovers and Leech Seed recovery is going to help me out a lot. I missed the Seed Flare here, and he actually went for a Substitute, and that's pretty bad because you'll see this is actually a pretty rare set, Substitute Dragon Dance Flail Gyarados, and the first Seed Flare miss was really problematic for me because it means he's going to be able to get in a extra boost. So that's going to be pretty difficult to deal with, as you'll see. Things are about to get pretty ugly, to be honest. And he goes for one more Substitute. I doubt any of my other attacks would be strong enough to break his subs even, so I just keep using Seed Flare, and he gets that Lychee Berry attack boost as he gets into the red zone of HP. and Leech Seed Recovery is going to bring him down to almost taking out Gyarados, but I'm going to be forced to switch around a lot to get a decent turn in. You see, what I need to do is just stall him out for one turn, and then Leech Seed Recovery should be able to take him out, but the problem is finding something that can actually survive a +2 Gyarados. So I decided to try to do a bait and switch here, switching to Suicune out of Jirachi, because I thought he might go for that Waterfall to finish off Jirachi. Either way, he either makes a good prediction or just uses Flail randomly, because he actually chooses the move that I was not expecting, and takes out Suicune. Although I am going to manage to pull it off the second time because he probably wasn't expecting me to go for the same strategy twice in a row. So that time I went to Jirachi and switched out into Shaman. And even at +2, Waterfall isn't very effective against Shaman. And I am running a max HP set, so that extra bulk is pretty useful here. So Leech Seed is going to take him out at that point. And Leftovers brings me up to right about half, I think. So I'm looking in pretty decent shape for now. He sends out Machamp, and I'm just going to sacrifice Shaman. It's best not to switch around too much against something like Machamp, because you might end up getting overpredicted, and you definitely don't want to deal with Machamp, especially with Dynamic Punch and its really good coverage. So I'm going to leave in Shaman to die. I got in a pretty good amount of damage with Seed Flare, so I can send in Jirachi, and if I just get that one Iron Head flinch, then I should be able to 2-hit KO it pretty safely. And I do have that 60% chance to flinch it, so the odds are pretty much in my favor. It's not looking too bad at all. He goes into his Jirachi, and it's Scarfed, so the best thing he can hope for is using his Scarf to outspeed me and hit me with a Thunderbolt, but really that won't be much of a problem unless it paralyzes me. Oh. Okay, yeah, never mind, that is a problem. So I'm just going to stay in and finish him off with Fire Punch, but the game is basically over now, because I'm going to have to deal with a paralyzed Jirachi versus Machamp. I do have Heatran left, but it's not exactly going to help out at all, because he has Stealth Rock up, and as soon as I switch it in, it's going to die to Stealth Rock damage. And I'm just going to keep staying in and Iron Heading. He's playing it really safe here by going for the consecutive substitutes. And he could probably finish me off with Dynamic Punch, but he's probably not exactly sure. Neither am I, for that matter. So he's just going to sub up, hoping for a full paralysis. And he actually gets it on the second try. So the luck is not really working out for me in this match. And you'll see that he's just going to go for Dynamic Punch here. Coupled with Paralysis, that Confusion from Dynamic Punch means I have roughly a 30% chance to even get off an attack, so it's not exactly in my favor. Somehow I break through both Paralysis and Confusion to get that final Iron Head off, so I do manage to at least break his sub, but it doesn't exactly help me because he's just going to be able to outspeed me and definitely take out Jirachi on the next turn with Dynamic Punch. And the game is basically going to end now, because as soon as I switch in Heatran, as you'll see, it's just going to die to Stealth Rock damage. So it's pretty much a 1-0 victory. Might have been decided by hacks, but either way, it was a pretty good match. So good game, and thanks for watching, guys.